guys, it's Ray here at oliverhomes.com, and today I want to share with you 5 things that I love about living in an old house and 2 things I do not.
Cheers. Social we are.
So number 1, the first thing that I love about living in an old house is that they're more HYGGE. And I've talked about this before, and I will link to that video for you all. But HYGGE is really the Danish art of coziness. And in the little book of HYGGE, they list 10 different items that you can use to make your home more HYGGE or hyggelig. Having an old house is like having vintage items in your home, which we also have. But everything in our house is old. It is just nice to be surrounded by that history. It makes it seem a lot cozier. And if you're looking for other tips on how to make your home more HYGGE, whether it's old or not, then you can go ahead and check out our video. Alright, number 2, the second reason why I love living in an old house is that it's better for the environment. If I were to tear down this old house and build new, there would be a lot of embodied energy that would actually be harmful to the environment. Embodied energy includes all of the resources that go into building something. So if you think about a new house, you would have all the embodied energy of manufacturing each of the items, of the wood joists that you're using, or the roofing materials, and then shipping that all to the site and having it constructed. So it's not just what energy that new building is using, but all the embodied energy it takes to create all of those materials and then get them to the right location. And all of the materials of demolishing this house will then go into a dump. So with an old house, I can give myself a small pat on the back for being an environmental steward. Number 3, the third reason why I love living in an old house is the walkability in my neighborhood. So a lot of old houses, especially like this one, were built before cars were popularized. Our house, as I mentioned, was built between 1905 and 1912. I think the property was purchased to be developed because there was a streetcar that was being put in. So most people would use a horse and buggy, or they would walk for transportation, possibly using bicycles also. And then they would take the streetcar from our town all the way into Washington, D.C., where many people worked. So yes, buying an old house means that you're probably going to be in a more walkable neighborhood or town or city possibly. And if you want to see how walkable a house is that you might be looking at to purchase, if you've ever heard of a program called WalkScore, you go to walkscore.com, and I will link to that in the description box below, but you can see how walkable your house is. So the fourth thing that I love about living in an old house are front porches. I really do love our front porch. We use it 3/4 of the year, and I think that this ties nicely into the idea of walkability. Our neighborhood was built around the streetcar. It was not built around actual automobiles. So the houses are closer together, and just the scale of the street is a little bit cozier, and there are a lot of front porches. Now, there are probably a couple reasons why there are front porches with older houses, but one of the biggest reasons is they didn't have air conditioning at the time. So you would be on the front porch just to cool off, and you would have a lot of porches like in the back, or sleeping porches. People would sleep out on their porch during the hot summer months. I do really love having a front porch because it has helped me make a lot of friends in the neighborhood. People walk by to the different bars and restaurants and grocery stores in our area, and as they walk by, it's always nice to say hello, and it's just a nice way to socialize and meet with people. And the fifth thing that I love about living in an old house is that it helps me be more of a minimalist. Now, I live in an old folk Victorian style farmhouse, so Victorian homes were not known for being minimal at all. They were actually quite ornate, but ours is more of a farmhouse style. I think it was built by carpenters that had built a lot of farmhouses, and so when they were asked to build this type of home, they built a sort of like shotgun style farmhouse. So how is it minimal for us? Well, old houses are smaller in scale. They tend to have smaller rooms. They tend to have smaller closets. So smaller rooms means less furniture that you have to buy, and smaller closets means that you have less space for your clothing. So it automatically encourages a simpler life and a little bit more minimalism and makes things easier to take care of and makes life just a little bit simpler. Now, there are two things that I do not like about living in an old house. The first one is how sounds travel. And I've talked to so many people who live in old houses and have small children, and creaky floors drive me crazy. So you literally have to know where to step on the floor so that you do not wake up a sleeping baby. It is critical. So that takes me to number 2. The second thing that I do not like about living in an old house is that they are so drafty. And that's probably something that I can fix and that we are going to work on fixing as we green our home, is to add some more insulation. But the power outlets, like there's wind blowing through the outlets in the walls. And the baseboards have air coming through, and we've sealed some of those up, but we're probably going to have to do it again. All right, so I'm going to show you guys this, but it is so drafty, the air coming through our unfinished basement, because we do not have a subfloor. So let me think of how to explain this. We have the floor joists, and then sitting right on top of that are the pine wood floors. And there's no subfloor in between that. So literally, we had a party at this house where someone dropped a beer, and the beer poured into our basement, just poured right through the holes in the floor. I mean, if you turn out the lights on the first floor and you turn on the lights in the basement, you can see right into the basement. You'll see like light glowing through the floorboards. So needless to say, there are a lot of drafts that come through our unfinished basement, and then, you know, through the windows and through the walls. So yes, living in an old house can be very drafty. If you live in an old house, please let us know, what do you like about it and what do you hate about it that drives you crazy? And what are you trying to work on right now? What kind of renovations are you doing? What have you been able to fix? Please share it with everybody. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We put out old house tips and other videos every Tuesday. Thanks so much for stopping by our home.